So, welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to our lecture series called Daily News in Shorts. In this lecture series, we cover that day's newspaper in a very short span of time within 20 minutes. Now, today we are going to be covering newspaper of August 3, 2024. And there were a few important news items that featured in today's newspaper, so we'll cover those news items in today's lecture. All right? So, let's take a look at the topics we shall cover in this particular lecture. Today's topics. Now, there were four important topics that were of extreme importance for us. Okay, these are as following. First of all, there is this huge bumper announcement by Government of India regarding infrastructure. Government of India has announced that it is going to build eight national national highway project, eight national highways, very big national highways, and it is going to cost around 50,000 crore rupees. Okay, so this big infrastructure push by union government, we'll talk about this. Then you must have heard about this gender debate in Olympic boxing. It was regarding two females boxing in Olympics, and one of them actually won because the other one actually withdrew. But one of them is being alleged to be male or a female with significant male characteristics. And that particular female, generally, the critics argue that a particular female who has significant male characteristics shouldn't be allowed to play or contest in female sports. So this is this huge controversy. It has raked up a huge controversy regarding gender debate in Olympic boxing. So we'll take a look at this issue holistically. Then Shubham Shukla became the second Indian to travel to space after Rakesh Sharma. 40 years after Rakesh Sharma, now a second Indian would travel to space. And this second Indian would travel along with NASA. So now it is actually a NASA's mission to International Space Station, and they will carry an Indian astronaut along with them. So Shubham Shukla would become the second Indian to travel to space after NASA. So we'll talk about this mission, this NASA ISRO mission. And we'll talk about some bad news coming from Manipur. Jiribam, a district in Manipur, a particular conference is taking place, a peace conference is taking place in Jiribam, Manipur, regarding peace and friendly relation between different communities like Meiteis, Kukis, and all that. Okay, so we'll talk about Jiribam tragedy. All right then. Now, without further delay, let's start with infrastructure push by union government. So, in a big push to infrastructure spending, the union government Friday approved 8 national high-speed corridor projects. The total length of these corridor projects would be 936 kilometers, and the entire cost of these 8 projects would be 50,655 crore. Now, all these 8 projects are going to be implemented in PPP mode. That means public-private partnership mode. That means private sector is going to participate in this. The government said that the implementation of these projects will generate significant employment, at least 4.42 crore man days of direct and indirect employment. Infrastructure generally, whenever government spends on infrastructure, it generates employment. Okay, so this is a good thing. Spending on infrastructure is considered good spending. 4 of these 8 highway projects will be executed under built operate transfer model. As you know, public private partnership projects have different models. Some are called BOT model. Then there is this thing called EPC model. Then there is this thing called hybrid annuity model. So basically, road construction projects, PPP road construction projects generally belong to these 3 models only. Okay, so 4 of these highway projects would be constructed under BOT model. Then 3 would be constructed under hybrid annuity model, and 1 would be constructed under EPC model. So today we are going to focus on these 2 models only. All right. So PPP, public-private partnership, means private players and governments are collaborating to construct these projects. Okay. So first of all, we'll talk about what is this BOT model, build, operate, transfer model. Okay. Very simple. So let's suppose government wants to construct a high-speed 8-lane highway between Delhi and Agra. Now, government doesn't have enough money to spend on this project. It's a very expensive project. Okay, and government doesn't want to spend money on this. So what would government do? Government would invite private players. These private players would construct the highway, okay, using their own money. So these private players would construct the highway, okay, using their own money. So they would finance themselves because government doesn't have money for it. Then these private players would operate it. and would recover their cost. So they would have spent some money, they would want to earn profit, they would want to recover their cost. So they would operate these highways and collect tolls on these highways for a particular period, let's suppose 10 to 15 years. So for 15 years, this private company will collect tolls, recover their costs, earn profit, and then transfer it back to the government. So that is why it is called build, operate, transfer. Okay. Now, this is a model. In this, financial risk is with the private player. Okay. Toll collection risk is with the private player. Traffic risk is with the private player. Government doesn't bear significant risk. Now, 4 of these highways have been allotted under BOT model. That means government wouldn't have to spend that much. So, government would use that money, which it will save, to narrow its fiscal deficit. Okay. Plus, earlier, many private players were not interested in BOT model. But recently, Ministry of Road Transport and Highways actually amended the model concession agreement, to make it more attractive for private players. So 4 highways would be given under BOT model and 1 highway would be given under EPC model. Now, what is EPC model? It's very simple. Full form of EPC model is engineering, procurement, and construction. Now, under this, a private company would be called. They would engineer the entire project, they would construct the entire project, and the government would give them money for that project. So they would be compensated for that project. They don't have to bring their own money. They don't have to get their own finance. Government is financing this project. The private players just have to construct it. And their construction cost will be covered by the government. Okay. After they have completed the construction of the project, they would hand it over to the government. So basically, there is no risk on the private player, neither financial risk, nor toll risk, nor no risk. Basically, the entire risk is borne by the government. Okay. Government is going to bring the finance, government is going to operate the toll, government is going to recover its costs. The private player is just a construction company. Okay. And last is HAM model, hybrid annuity model. Okay. Now, hybrid annuity model, it's called hybrid because it is a hybrid between BOT and EPC. Now, how is it a hybrid? Under this, a private player would be called, and government would tell them to construct the highway between Delhi to Agra themselves. Okay, so private player would construct the highway. 40% of the project cost would be borne by the government, and 60% of project cost would be borne by the private player. Okay, so 40% of the project cost would be borne by National Highway Authority of India government, and 60% by the private player. So now you see it's a mixture of BOT and EPC. So financial risk is shared between government and private player. Now, after the project is complete, the entire highway will be operated by private player. Okay, the highway will be operated by private player, but toll collection would be with the government. Okay, so government would collect toll, and there is one more thing. The reason why it's called annuity is because every year government would give some money to the private player. After the project is complete and it is being operated by the private player, government would pay some money annually to these private players so that these private players recover their costs. Now, this is known as hybrid annuity model, in which financial risk is shared between public and private. Okay, so these are the 3 models which are generally used for road construction, and these 8 national corridors are going to be constructed through these 3 models alone. All right. Okay. Now let's jump to our second news item, which is very important. Gender debate in Olympic boxing. Now look, this female in blue jersey is Italy's Angela Carini. And this female boxer in red jersey is Algeria's Iman Khalif. Now the thing is, they had a match in Olympics. Their match started, and after 46 seconds, just after 46 seconds, this Italian female boxer withdrew. And the reason she gave is that this Algerian boxer, though is a female, but she has significant male characteristics. She is a male with female sex organs. Now, because males are generally stronger, they have a bigger muscle mass, they have bigger bone size, right? That is why males do not compete in female sports, because males are physically more dominant. But if a female is like a male, physiologically, hormonally. Okay, would it be fair to make her compete in female sports? Well, Angela Carini didn't think so, and that's why she withdrew. And because of this, there was this huge controversy. It is the biggest controversy in Paris Olympics yet. Okay. Now, participation of transgender women. Transgender women, who are transgender women? Transgender women are biological males who identify as females. So these are biological males who say they identify more with females. They are called transgender women. In some countries, transgender women are being allowed to compete against females, despite them being biologically males. Now, this is a controversial issue because males are generally physically more dominant. Okay, so participation of transgender women is frowned upon or is controversial, and women having certain masculine biological characteristics are also, if they compete in female sports, are this is also a controversial issue. Now, though there are rumors going around that Algeria's Iman Khalif is a transgender woman, but she's not. She's a female. She has female sexual organs, reproductive organs, and she identifies as a female also. So she's not a transgender woman. She is a female, but she has certain masculine biological characteristics. Now, certain countries, before qualifying candidates for competing in female sports, they generally have gender eligibility test because they want to see that this particular person is actually female or not, gender eligibility test. And in previous games, Iman Khalif has been disqualified for failing gender eligibility tests. So many countries or many events have found her to be significantly male. But she was allowed in this year's Olympics, and that is why this issue has become controversial. Okay, let's take a look at the background. Why Iman Khalif is so controversial? In 2023, Khalif was banned from competing in International Boxing Association's World Championship, which was held in New Delhi. And she failed to pass the gender eligibility test and she was banned to compete in female boxing. However, Paris Olympics allowed it. International Olympic Committee allowed them to participate in this year's Olympics because International Boxing Association was banned by IOC for misgovernance and financial issues. So therefore, their decisions were not binding on International Olympic Committee. And that's why they allowed her to play. Critics are arguing that her inclusion in Paris Olympics was unfair since she has failed the gender eligibility test once. Now, you might be thinking that, okay, allowing transgender women to play is wrong because that person is biologically male. Pretending, you might say pretending, but identifying as female, that shouldn't be allowed because she has or he has significant bodily advantages. So transgender women shouldn't be allowed. But how can you say that a particular female is more male-like, so she shouldn't be allowed? Now, you might be thinking that there is no science behind this, but there is some science behind this. And listen to me carefully. Okay? It involves genes and testosterone. Now, what is testosterone? Testosterone is a significant male hormone, though it's present in females also, but it is present in males in a much higher quantity. Okay? In fact, the reason why males have high bone density, high muscle mass, high muscle strength, it's because of testosterone secretion during their growing age. Okay? Now, humans, the entire genetic makeup of human beings, the entire DNA of human beings, all human beings have 23 pair of chromosomes. Now, 22 are identical in men and women. So, 22 chromosome pairs are identical in men. Men also have the same chromosomal pairs, females also have, except one pair, which is called the sex chromosome. Now, if it is XX chromosome, then that person is a female. XY, then that person is a male. And why males have more testosterone? Because a particular gene is found in Y chromosome, which is known as SRY gene. Please remember the names, okay? So there is this gene called SRY gene in Y chromosome, which is present only in males, which is responsible for production of testosterone. And various scientific papers have found a link between testosterone and athletic performance. People having higher testosterone would show better athletic performance. Testosterone aids in muscle mass, strength, and bone size, and all that stuff. Now, there are certain females out there who have higher testosterone levels. So, some people look at them also with controversy that they shouldn't be allowed. Then there are certain females who take testosterone artificially to improve their muscle mass for competing in sports like weightlifting or boxing, wrestling, and all that. Okay? But some females are naturally born with higher testosterone. Like, there is this disease called Swyer syndrome. Under this, there are females with female reproductive organs, but their chromosome is XY. So they have female reproductive organs, but their chromosome is XY. And because of the presence of Y chromosome, they secrete a lot of testosterone and they appear more male like, despite having female reproductive organs. Now, such females would be females with significant male characteristics. Okay, Swyer syndrome and many other syndromes like that are known as disorders of sex development. Now, critics are arguing that female with DSDs shouldn't be allowed to compete in female sports. And Iman Khali, Algerian boxers, case is similar to this. Okay, and that is why various sports federations around the world have gender eligibility tests, in that they have actually set limits to the level of testosterone in your blood. So if testosterone in your blood is higher than a particular threshold, then you wouldn't be allowed to compete in female sports. Some countries do that, some don't. Okay, that was the whole issue. Now let's move on to third news item, which is second Indian to travel to space. Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla will most likely become the first Indian in space, 40 years with Indian Space Research Organization, naming him the prime astronaut for ISRO-NASA mission. So there is this ISRO-NASA mission in which NASA is taking 4 astronauts to International Space Station. Okay, so 4 astronauts are being taken to International Space Stations. Of these 4 astronauts, 1 will be an Indian. Why? Because last year, India and USA had a deal. So USA promised that they would take 1 Indian astronaut to International Space Station. Now ISRO has named Shubham Shukla as the prime astronaut for this mission. But if Shubham Shukla cannot make it, then there is a backup astronaut also, Group Captain Prashant Balakrishnan Nair. Okay, both of them, Shukla and Nair, both of them have been named as 4 astronauts in India's Gaganyaan mission. Gaganyaan mission is going to take place next year, where India will launch astronauts to space. Not USA, India will. Okay, so India is sending Shubhanshu Shukla because that one of their astronauts should have some exposure to to space travel before India's Gaganyaan mission. All right. Now let's talk a bit about this ISRO NASA mission. So it is known as Axiom 4 mission because this mission is a joint collaboration between NASA and a private space company called Axiom Space. Okay, and this is a fourth in the series of missions between Axiom Space and NASA, and that is why it is known as Axiom 4 mission. Okay, the spacecraft would be launched by SpaceX, Elon Musk's company called SpaceX. This company will provide rocket for this mission. Okay. Now, what would happen under this mission? Axiom spacecraft would be launched. 4 astronauts, including our Shubham Shukla, would be in there. And this spacecraft would dock at International Space Station for 14 days. And then astronauts would be returned. Okay. Apart from Shukla, 3 other astronauts will travel to International Space Station. Now, some important facts regarding International Space Station. What is International Space Station? So, well, you need to know about this. It was launched in 1998. It is the largest man-made object floating in space. Okay, it serves as habitat for astronauts in space. Now, it was a collaborative project between 5 space agencies: NASA, Russia's Roscosmos, Europe's ESA, Japan's JAXA, and Canada's Canadian Space Agency. So remember that it is made up of 5 space agencies. Now, this International Space Station is placed in near Earth orbit, or we call it low Earth orbit, 400 kilometers from Earth. It travels at very high speeds, and what was the aim? To expand knowledge of space, promote new scientific research, serve as an example of international cooperation. All right, and we'll straight away jump to our last news item, which is Jiribam tragedy in Manipur. Now, we all know what happened in Manipur last year. There were really some sad pictures and videos coming out of that state. Majorly, it was a conflict between Meiteis and Kukis. Kukis are the tribal people, hill people, and Meiteis are the plain people who were trying to get scheduled tribe status but didn't get that. Now, when all of this was happening in Manipur, there was one district of Manipur which was largely peaceful, and that was Jiribam. It was largely peaceful despite the fact that many Meiteis, Kukis, and other tribes like Hamar tribes were living there, but it was largely peaceful. But this year on June 6th, since June 6th, even Jiribam wasn't spared, and huge clashes between Meiteis and Hamar, a particular scheduled tribe, people took place. Okay? Now, since June 6th, the conflict has calmed down and meetings have been called between the representatives of these communities who have asked their community members or their brothers in those communities to calm down. And these meetings have worked. Now, a second such meeting where representatives of these groups, representatives of Meiteis and Hamars, they met, but they didn't meet in Jiribam because Jiribam was a little volatile. They met in a neighboring district of Assam. So Jiribam is basically a border district between Manipur and Assam. So right at the border of Manipur and Assam is Jiribam district. On Assam side, there is North Kachar Hills or Kachar district. So the meeting took place here outside Jiribam. Okay, Jiribam is a small district with mixed population. Largest ethnic groups are Bengali Muslims are there, Hindus are there, Meiteis are there, Kuki Zos tribe are there, Nagas are there, Meiteis are there, T tribes are there, and Hamar tribes are there. Okay. Now, one more thing about Hamar tribes, because you might be knowing about cookies, because cookies have been discussed quite a lot since the tragedy in Manipur. But Hamar community, just remember this, that it is also a scheduled tribe and it belongs to a family of tribes. Hamar is a tribe which belongs to a family of tribe called Kuki Mizo Chin family of tribes. So it belongs to this family. So Kuki and Hamars belong to the same family of tribes. The languages they speak belong to the family of Tibeto-Burman languages. So like there are South Indian languages, one family, Dravidian family of languages, Indo-Aryan family of languages. Similarly, Tibeto-Burman family of languages. So Hamar people speak these language. Okay, that's it. Now, what was decided in this second meeting? Well, a few things were decided, a few resolutions were passed. As you can see, this is BSF's headquarters in North Kachar Hills, and here the meeting was taking place. There were 3 resolutions that were passed. Both sides need to make full efforts to bring normalcy and prevent incidents of firing. Cooperation with security forces in Jiribam district enabled controlled and coordinated movement of both communities. So all of this was decided upon. All right. On that note, we conclude today's lecture. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and I'm sure it added value to your preparation. But I have said this a lot many times before. I say that in the end of every lecture. Please make this lecture series a part of your daily routine. This is very important. This will add value only if you make it your habit. Make it a part of your daily routine. You don't have to spend more than 20 minutes, but your entire day's current affairs would get revised. And I don't have to tell you about the importance of current affairs for your examination, both for prelims as well as mains. By the way, if you want to check out or if you want to download the notes for this lecture, the detailed notes for this lecture in PDF form, then check out our Telegram channel. There I have provided a PDF file which contains the notes for this lecture. Okay, the link to our Telegram channel is given in the comment section below. Okay, with that, I'll be signing off now. Thank you so much, everyone. I'll see you next time with another day's current affairs.